Okay, we're going to start off by reviewing scatter plots. What does the word scatter mean? All over the place. And if I say we're plotting something, we're making a what? We're making points on a graph. So scatter means this is going to be a graph with points all over the place. Okay, there we go. I want you to look at these words over here on the right and these definitions on the left. Then when it says positive C, that means positive correlation. I wonder if isn't that cute? Okay, so it kind of goes straight through across. But it's positive correlation, no correlation, scatter plots, and negative correlation. I'm going to pause right now. I want you to take a minute, and I want you to try and write down which ones go to what. Now, you don't have to write out. Actually, you do. What you need to write out these definitions right here, and then we're going to try and match them up because you're going to have to know the definitions. So let's do that now. Okay, from here, it says a rising set of data from left to right. What that's saying is that I have points from left to right rising that are going up. If it's going up from left to right, that is a positive correlation. Positive correlation. The next one said a set of data that does not appear to fall from left to right, to rise or fall. That is no correlation. A falling set of data from left to right, falling meaning going down, that's going to give you a negative correlation. A graphic that shows at a glance whether a relationship exists. And then it says a relationship between two sets of data. Okay, a graphic that shows whether there's a relationship, that's going to be a scatter plot. Okay, because the graphic is the actual graph. The correlation is what's going to be the relationship between the two sets of data. Take a minute and make sure that you have the correct definitions with the correct words. Okay, now let's remind ourselves what these look like. A positive correlation from left to right is going up. You may want to sketch that. You're going to have to be able to identify those. A negative correlation from left to right is going down. And no correlation is when they're just scattered all over. Another example of no correlation, let's see, I'll draw that on here, would be possibly if, let's see, there we go. Will that give me my pretty dots? Nope. Okay, whatever. Like this right here. This looks like a straight line, a horizontal line. That's not going up and it's not going down. That's no correlation as well. Another example of no correlation that you could see is if data just goes straight up and down and it looks like it's a vertical line. All three of these at the bottom are no correlation because they don't go up and they don't go down. From left to right, they're not rising or falling. A positive correlation has to be rising. It has to be going up. A negative correlation is going down. All right, so again, the graph up in the top left from left to right going up, that is a positive correlation. Left to right going down is a negative correlation. And these three down here at the bottom are no correlation because they don't go from left to right. They're not going up or down. Now, let's look at the next slide. It says match the correct correlation with each graph, then choose the best description for each scatter plot. So let me move some of these down so that we can see them. All right, so looking at these right here, first off, graph A, what's happening from left to right? It's going down, so that is negative. I forgot I can't go behind it. Okay. Graph B, from left to right, it's going up, so that is positive. Okay? This one, now some people will say, but Ms. Crawford, it's going down. Well, no, it's going down, but then it's going back up. The trend has to all be going in the same direction. These have points that aren't just all bunched together going in the same way, and that's why this one is none. Now you said there's 2 points on the same number. That still can happen on a scatter plot. Okay? Because the data can be there, and it could be like if you have 2 points there, as long as all the points are going in the general area of going up or going down. Right, graph C is not, because half of them are going down, and then there's these other ones up here at the top. Now, it talks about up here the age of a car and the total miles driven. Okay, the older the car is, how many miles normally are on there? More or less? More. When both are going up, think of it like a positive times a positive. What is a positive times a positive? A positive times a positive is a positive. When the signs are the same. So this is going to be a positive. Let me see if I can. It goes with graph B. So the positive graph is going to talk about the age of the car and the number of miles, because both of these are increasing. Both of these are going up. That's what's causing it to be positive. Now, let me move that out of the way. The next one of the next ones I have, it says the age of a car. So the older the car, what happens to the sales price of the car? It does depend. It does matter. The older your car is, you can't sell it for as much as what you bought it for. I'm not talking about the normal, like if you bought a 1950 car refurbished and all this other stuff. You buy a Ford Taurus. Okay? You buy a Ford Taurus and you bought it for $10,000. After you drive it for so many years, you can't sell it for 10, 12. The price is not going to go up. The price is going to go down. So now right here, this says if you think of it like a positive times a negative, you get a negative. That's why this is going to be a negative correlation. So right here, negative correlation, the age of a car and the sales price of the car. That goes with graph A. And this is because the descriptions we're talking about in general, the majority of the cars or the objects we're talking about. Now, the next one says the age of the car, so the older the car, the number of states it's traveled to. Because just because a car is older doesn't mean that it went to different states. Somebody could have an old car and they never left the city of Houston. Okay? Heck, the city of Houston is like its own state, I guess. So, graph C is the one that with no correlation, is the age of the car and the number of states it's traveled to. Okay, so let's try and match up the next ones. On the next slide, it says positive, negative, or no. I'm going to pull out, well, let's do this. Start here with number 1 and answer this one. So it says the number of things you buy at the mall and the amount of money you have left. The more you buy at the mall, what happens to your money? It goes down. They're going in opposite directions. So that means it's going to be a negative correlation. Okay, I'm not asking you to write the whole example down. I was just asking you to write down if it was positive, negative, or no. Number 2, try this one. Write down what you think it is. The number of pages printed by a printer and the amount of ink left in the cartridge. Write down what you think it is, or think it in your head. So, the more you print, what happens to the ink in your cartridge? It goes down. They're going in opposite directions. That's going to be negative. My next one, number 3, says the length of a taxi ride and the amount of the fare. First off, what does fare mean? How much it costs, how much a taxi cab is going to charge you. Okay, so write down P or N or NC for no correlation. Now all I want you to do is just write it down so that you have something to look at. So the length of your taxi cab, the longer you're in the taxi, what happens to your fare? It goes up. So both quantities are increasing or going up. You should have had a positive correlation. Number 4, try this one. It says the temperature outside and the amount of clothing a person wears. Just write down P, N, or NC. Now somebody says it depends on the weather. It does, but that's what the temperature is. No, there is a correlation, because the warmer it is, the warmer it gets, the less clothes you wear. I promise if you go to Montana and it's in the winter and it's cold, so the colder it is, you are not walking around in your boxer briefs and a little tank top. Okay? Some of you are crazy, and you will, but normal, sane folks put on more clothes. And that, since they're going in opposite directions, that's a negative correlation. Okay, here we go. Try number 5. Number 5. Write down P, N, or NC. It says a person's age and the temperature outside. A person's age and the temperature outside. So the older you are, does that affect the temperature outside? No, that is no correlation. Okay, the next one. The outside temperature and the cost of air conditioning. The hotter it is outside, what happens to the cost of my AC? It goes up. What you mean it goes down? It went down. Woo. When it's hot, you turn, no, listen though, it says the cost of your air conditioning. The cost. So as the temperature goes up, you turn your AC up so that it's cooler in your house, and that means the cost goes up. So both things are increasing. That means it's positive. Number 7. The miles the miles ridden on a bicycle and the thickness of the tire tread. The miles ridden on a bicycle and the thickness of the tire tread. When you ride your bike, the more you ride your bike, what happens to the tread? It goes down because you're using it more. That's true on bike tires and car tires. Since they are going in opposite directions, it is negative. the last one I have. No, I don't have the last one. I have two more. I'm going to pull out both of these, and I want you to answer these two. All right, number 8 says the number of letters in a person's first name and the person's height. Does that even make sense? The first one, up number 8, is no correlation because those two things don't go together. Now, the last one says the shots attempted and the number of points made in a game. Well, it's not no correlation because the more shots you shoot, eventually you're gonna score more points. 1 out of 10 may go in. It just depends. But the whole idea is the more you shoot, the more points you're gonna score. And I'm not talking about people who can't play. I should have said that at the beginning. My bad. I will work on that. Okay, now, the next thing that we need to do talking about scatter plots is instructions for putting graphing points in the calculator. So everybody should have their calculators. Now, I want you to write these steps down, and I'm going to tell you what to write first. Stop what you're doing and write. You don't need to write the whole pictures that I have up here on the board. Here's what you're going to write. The first thing you're going to put in the calculator, you're going to press, is stat. So write down just this button and put stat, and then I want you to press it on your calculator. Then, so when you press stat, this is the screen you should see. So let me get out my calculator. I go to stat, and I have that same screen. Now I want you to write down enter, because then you have to press enter, and you're going to go to L1 and L2. Now, I already have points in my calculator, and we're going to talk about how to put them in there in just a second, but I want to talk about how to erase them. If you will go up to L2, arrow up to L2, and press clear. Now, there's going to be a point. Pay close attention. When you press clear and enter, it takes them all away. Do not press delete. Look at this delete button right here. Delete will remove that entire column, and that is not good. Okay, then I have to go back and fix it. So, and your graphs won't work right. So now if I go back over to L1 and I go up to L1, again, you're pressing clear right here. Clear and enter, and that removes your data out of L1 and L2. What the steps are telling you to do is it says press enter between each number you put in the list. So if I put 5, enter, 6, enter, to go down, that's how you go down after you put the numbers in there. I'm going to arrow over to the right, and that's how I get to L2. And then I can put in my numbers, but after each number you're putting in, you press enter. Now, look here. Here's my warning. See how the dotted lines are right here next to each other? These, make sure you have the same amount of points in L1 and L2. Otherwise, when you go to graph it, it's going to tell you error. All right, so now, after you press stat and enter and put your points into L1 and L2, you are then going to go to the window. So in my calculator, I would press window, and it says, remember to set min a little below and max a little above your table values. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. If you're playing in the calculator, that's going to be a problem right now. After you do the windows, then you're going to go second, y equals, and you're going to get to where it says stat plot. You have to turn your stat plot on. And to do that, you're going to press enter 2 times. Enter, enter. And see how it's highlighting over here on? That's telling you that it's ready to go. And then you would press graph, and it will graph them. Now, you only see one because it just depends on what you've done. That's because you didn't change your windows. We're a different thing. All right, now let's try and do this together. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this one together. Ready? Take your calculators. Let's do this because every time when you go into your calculator, other people have probably used it. So let's clear our memory before we start. Okay? Second, plus sign, 7, 1, 2. If you don't know how to do that, ask somebody who's sitting next to you because it should say RAM cleared. Okay? Here are our steps to put it in the calculator. Step 1 said to press stat, and you are going to have this memorized. You have to know how to use it without notes. You're going to press stat, and then you're going to press enter. Be nosy, look around. Is everybody on this table right, or this screen right here? L1 and L2. Okay, we are going to put the study hours in L1 and the test scores in L2. So right now you're going to go 3, enter. Oh, come back. Nope. There we go. 5, enter. 2, enter. 6, enter. 7, enter. 1, enter. Where'd I go? 7, 1, and then 2, enter. 7, enter. 1, enter, and 7, enter. So I put all my numbers into L1 and L2. There should be 10 of them. I'm going to arrow over to the right and put my numbers into L2. So I've got 80 and enter, 90 and enter, 75 and enter, 80, enter, 90, enter, 50, enter, 65, enter, 85, enter, 40, enter, and 100. Now, again, I'm making sure that I have the same amount of points in L1 and L2. Make sure both of these blanks are down here. Before you can go on from here, we need to change the window settings. So you're going to go to Window. Now where it says X minimum, you're going to find the smallest X number. So I'm looking up here in L1, or in the top one. The lowest one is 1. I need a number that is smaller than 1. 0. Let's put 0 in there. X maximum. What's my largest number I have in the X? No. In just the L1s is 7. You can put 8. I'm going to leave mine as 10, but 8 is fine. Now, X scale. That tells me on my graph what my little tick marks go by. What do I mean? Let me show you real quick. That's talking about what each one of these lines goes by. So and you know that when we make our graphs, we can go by 5s, 10s, 1s. And so it just depends. I'm going to leave it at 1 because it's such a small amount. Y minimum, the smallest Y number is 40. Where? 40's right there. Where am I calculating? So a number smaller than 40, 30, 10, it doesn't matter. Any of those numbers are good. Up to the largest number, which is 100. I'm going to go, I'll probably just go up to 110. You can go to 101. Now, my tick marks, I can leave them going by 1s, or I can change them to going by 10s. Is it right or wrong? No. But I'm going by 10s just looking at the amount. But if you want to put 1s, that's fine. What we're looking for, well, actually, I did the windows. Does anybody remember what I have to do after the window? I have to turn my stat plot on. Second Y equals, enter, enter. Make sure that the on is highlighted. Now press graph, and you should see some kind of correlation. This is going to have what kind of correlation? I've heard it is positive. If you don't have this on your screen right now, raise your hand so I can come and check and see what's going on. Be nosy with your neighbors. See the deal. Okay, now, from here, here's the situation. You have to know how to graph in your calculator and put the points in there. That's going to be part of what's on your test. Another thing that you're going to have to be able to do is this. You're going to have a problem with a table and a graph, and it says during the months of February and March, the weekly numbers of jars of strawberry jam and the cans of biscuits sold at a local market was recorded. The data was examined and plotted. Okay, so it gave us, this is their data, and they plotted the points by hand. It says based on the data in the table, predict the number of cans of biscuits sold if the market sells 14 jars of jam. Okay, the jars of jam is right here in this X column. So they want to know how much would be 14. Now, would the answer choice of 25 or 26 be acceptable? For 14, look at your data over here in the table. If I said 25 for 14, would that look like the trend? No. Before we can actually, though, predict, you have to draw a trend line. Your trend line is a line that goes through the middle. It's an average of all your points. It does not have to start at 0, 0. So as I go and look, and a lot of times we use a ruler and lay down a ruler, and we'll go and look and have a line. You will draw a trend line. After you draw the trend line, then we can go and look on our graph. When X is 14, when the jam is 14, what are the number of biscuits? And you go up to your line, and it looks like it's somewhere up here by, each line goes by 5, it's between 60 and 65. No information is going to be an exact number when you're trying to make a prediction because it depends on how you graphed your points and how you drew your trend line. Your answer choices will say something like between 57 and 65. Because when I go to grade these parts of the test, I have to look and see where you drew your trend line, how you drew it, and where you got your information from. So on the next one, talking with the same data, the same information, this time though, it's asking us, based on the data, predict the number of jars of jam sold if the market sells 14 cans of biscuits. 14 now is going over here in the Y spot. You still have to have your trend line. As I have my trend line and I have it drawn through the middle of all the points because the trend line is like an average. Then I would go over to where Y is 14. 5, 10, there's 15. So where Y is 14, I will draw an arrow over and then a line over and a line down. It's somewhere between here. So your answer choices would say between 1 and 2, between 6 and 8, between 2 and 4. Your answer would vary, and it would say between 2 and 4 because maybe I got 2, you got 3, somebody else got 4. But if you drew your trend line right, it should be between those points. Now, hopefully you wrote down the information on how to put your points in the calculator so that you know what you're supposed to do.